Just a quick background on myself. I came from India back in '72 at the age of 13. And I came from Punjab not knowing a word of English, not even the alphabet. So it was a bit of a struggle to start off with. And then in '77, when I struggled through my O-levels, really I couldn't go any further because of my English, and at that time it was a struggle, that I started my first job working as an office junior for British Airways. But really had a passion to be a pilot, so paid for it myself. But at that time I was earning £32 a week. It wasn't enough, so I used to do my day job, 9 to 5:30 in BA, and then go and work as a wine waiter at one of the airport hotels from 6 o'clock till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then back at BA the following morning. I got a 6-month offer with Wimpy Builders, and I thought, well, I don't want to leave my full-time secure job with BA, so I'll stay, working as an office team member with BA rather than leave and just take a 6-month contract. And then in the early 80s, my part-time work at the hotel dried up in the recession, whereas I used to work 4 or 5 days a week, 4 or 5 nights a week. I was doing one every fortnight. So I got a job. I didn't realize I've got something else in common with Dinesh, not just playing golf, but I also went and worked as a financial advisor for the next sort of 11 years. So I was doing my full-time job in BA, as well as doing my financial advisor in those days. It was a lot easier, no FSA and so on. So I used to work. I then switched on to early shifts in BA, and I sort of started working sort of early shifts from 7 till 2. I'd go to the Abbey office at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then I'll sort of finish at 10:30, 11:30 at night seeing clients, and then back at BA at 6:30 the following morning, as well as doing my football refereeing and private flying. It was a bit of a struggle, but managed. And in the mid-80s, I decided to buy the odd property, like a lot of us do. Made a few bob, and then bought a second and a third and so on, and the rest was history. In the early 90s, 93, 94, 93 I think it was, I just saw some houses up for sale, 4 houses, terraced houses on the A4 Bath Road. And they were going up in the auction, so I went to the auction and thought, oh, I'll buy these near Heathrow, I'll keep my links. And so I bought these 4 houses. They were owned by Sheila Hancock, John Thor's wife. Completely derelict, hadn't been lived in for 15, 20 years. So I bought the houses and I thought, what shall I do? Do I renovate them, sell them? Do I rent them out? And I came up with the idea and decided to renovate them and opened up HSA. And some people used to think, HSA, is that the insurance company? Is it Hospital for Sick Animals? It was actually Heathrow standby accommodation, a guest house. And we started off and it really worked quite well. We used to get a lot of the crew from British Airways that used to come and stay there. And then the idea came up, I would talk to a lot of the guest members and they'll say, we love New York, we hate Heathrow. And I said, well, tell me why. Well, New York, the airline owns the hotel. We go in as crew members and we get treated like royalty. Heathrow, we come and stay at the Excelsior. We get treated like cattle class. We get shoved at the back of the hotel, don't get a nice room, nice service, good security. So that's where the idea came up, and by which time I was collecting 9 other bits of the land. There was an office block next door, an old Avis building, and a few other houses. I managed to secure all that, and I went to British Airways with the idea, and I said, I can actually build you a purpose-built crew hotel. And they said, we love the idea, Surinder, but we really got no faith in you. They said, you've got no experience in building hotels, you've got no experience in running hotels, so why don't you go in and get someone like Hilton or Sheraton, and if they come and manage it, we'd love to do a deal with you. And then they went quiet for the next about 4 months, and I rang up the guy and I said, Mr. Clark, you never came back. And he said, Surinder, I'm sorry, our head of properties doesn't think that your site is big enough for a decent-sized hotel. And I said, what do you mean decent size? And he said, we need to have at least 200 bedrooms. We're using about 4 or 5 different hotels around the airport. And unless you're going to have minimum 200 bedrooms, it's not worthwhile. So I said, I'll go and get the planning. He said, well, our head of property doesn't think you'll get more than 150. And how right he was. I went to the planners with plans for a 300-plus bedroom hotel, and I got chucked out saying you can have maximum 140 bedrooms. So I fought hard for the next 15, 16 months. I involved my local neighborhood, petitions, ward councillors. I said I'm trying to create employment and improve the site and so on. cut the long story short, in the end, I got planning for 270 bedrooms, and which I later converted to 320, and then 360. We built another 40 rooms. So, you know, the lesson there was never give up in life. And we built the first hotel, great success. At that time, when I got the planning, even my own bank manager, I remember saying to me, Surinder, you're mad. You can sell off the site, because I virtually owned the site freehold with less than 500,000 borrowings on it. And the site now with the planning was worth 18, 19 million. And he said, why don't you just sell up and go and retire somewhere? Because construction, a lot of projects can go wrong. They can run over budget, over time. So it was a challenge. And I said, no, Tom, I want to build it. And we did build the hotel. We built it on budget. And we opened it 3 days ahead of schedule. And then of course, from there on, we went on and we built, British Airways loved the concept. We built a second one at Heathrow. We then built a third one at Gatwick. And so since then, the company's grown. We also then acquired our first hotel, which was being built by someone else. And the poor guy ran into problems. It was his first hotel in Manchester. And he started from 9 million project. He went up to 18 and still didn't complete it. And that's when the banks obviously took over the properties, and we bought that from the receivers. So, you know, there are risks in life, but, you know, as long as you're willing to take calculated risks, you know, that's what, in my view, the life is all about. Then, about 2 years ago, we started bidding for the only hotel to be built at Terminal 5, 600 bedrooms, 5-star, Lisa mentioned earlier. They, you know, like the Hilton at Heathrow, Terminal 4, at Terminal 5, there'll only be one hotel, which will be ours. We've taken out a franchise with Accor. Accor, who are the largest hotel company in Europe, and we've got a franchise with them to operate under a Sofitel Arora brand. But when we were bidding for that hotel, every company around the world, Hilton, Marriott, Sheraton, Intercontinental, Radisson, they were all bidding for it. And in the end, it came down to us and Marriott. And I remember being summoned into BAA and their advisors, and they said, why should we choose you against Marriott? Your balance sheet is like that, and Marriott are in billions. And I said, what's your concern? Well, the concerns are you going to have enough money to build it? Are you going to have enough to finish off? And, you know, these things can overrun. I took them to my bankers, simply. Let me take you to my bankers, and they can answer that question for you. The bankers in the end sat down and said, we'll underwrite Surinder's, you know, as a backup. We'll give you a banker's performance guarantee that whether Surinder finishes a job or not, we'll come in and finish it for you. And in the end, that was one of the key decisions, that we actually came ahead of Marriott and we won the bid, which was absolutely brilliant. Put it all down to really a team effort. I would say that from our point of view, I've always treated my staff as part of the family. We'll work with all our guests and we treat them like royalty. The biggest thing I'd say from the Asian formula, is there a special formula? I would say the networking, the family sport. I certainly had all the sport for my family. You know, that was really what made it key success for me. Sharing the knowledge, and of course hard work. I think that's the one thing I find here. That doesn't matter who you are. I came with nothing from India, and I think, you know, we've now built up a company. Earlier this year, in January, we acquired 9 other hotels that were owned by 3 pension funds and BAA. We paid just over £300 million for those. And the plan is that by the time Terminal 5 opens in 2008, pray to God, touch wood, that we should have a company with assets around £1 billion. And I think, you know, the only message I'll give from my experience, hard work always pays off. Never give up in life, because if I'd given up, whether it was BA, whether it was their property advisors, whether it was the planners, whether it was the bankers, I think like Dinesh mentioned earlier, you know, that we all have to live and breathe what we believe in. But the first and most important thing is you've got to believe in what we do, and then hard work and commitment, and never give up in life. Thank you.